may not see the blocker approaching, but at the last second, he may turn his head and see the blocker approaching. Even if he turns his head at the last second, that's still considered a blindside block. And what they say is, a player who turns his head at the last second and sees his opponent just before contact cannot realistically protect himself. So if you remember the video that we showed, and I can go back if we need to, the one where the guy hit him in the chest. He came from the side, got in front, and hit him in the chest. Problem is, even if that kid turns at the last second of the season and gets hit in the chest, he still can't protect himself. And that's what they're focusing on, is protecting that player. It says that game officials should err on the side of player safety. If it's questionable, it's a blindside block. It talks about why the open hands. And why do we say block with the open hands? Because when you block somebody with your hands and your arms, you generate less force on that block than you do with your shoulder or your body. It's biomechanics. If I'm pushing something, my hands and my arms are not as strong as if I throw my full weight with my shoulder into somebody's chest or side. And that's why they're talking about open hands and why there's less force with that. And again, if there's less force, there's less risk of injury. And again, that's what they're going for. I'm an ER doctor. So one of the things we ask EMS when they bring in a car crash, how much damage was there to the car? Because in general, the more damage there is to the car, the more force there was in that crash. It doesn't mean that driver or passenger got hurt any more or less, but it's a good rule of thumb. And it's the same philosophy here with the force. And it talks about forceful contact, and it tries to define it. The Rules Committee tried to define it. They did a horrible job with it, but they tried. It's something more than minor contact, but something less than excessive contact. Okay, thank you for that sentence. But basically, it does talk about one critical aspect, and it does require us, as much as we don't like to kind of judge player intent to a degree. And it says, we should consider whether the blocker was only attempting to take his opponent out of the play, or whether the block was intended to take the opponent out of the game. So, if I'm blocking somebody out of the play, that looks different than if I'm trying to take somebody out of the game. And we know what that looks like. We can't describe it in words. It's hard to write that down. But we all know, we've all seen that. And then it talks about, with your mechanics, and kind of being aware of certain aspects. And it talks about how, like, so following interceptions, free kicks, punts, if a running back is running to the left, and then he reverses field and goes all the way back to the right, those are the type of opportunities where we're going to see most of these blindside blocks. And it talks about the player that's going against the grain. So if everybody's running one way, the defense is chasing the ball carrier towards the sideline. So they're running to the left. And then he cuts back. And everybody starts to turn this way. You see this other guy keep coming to the left and just level somebody out. Or if you see somebody on a punt return, we saw video examples of this, where the guy is not following the play, the interception return, where he blocks him out of bounds, where everybody's running one direction, and then you see coming across the field completely opposite or different than everybody else. Looks like, John Price's Clemson shirt at a Carolina basketball game.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. When his daughter goes and plays for Don Saley in a few years, and he's wearing that orange shirt and with the Carolina crowd, that's what it's going to look like. But we've seen that. We see these plays. You can see that coming across the field. Now, we can't assume a block is going to be made. We can't start anticipating blocks, but we need to be looking for it and go, what is he doing? Where is he going? And let me watch this guy for a second, see what's going on. So It's not a perfect rule. We all kind of don't like it because it adds an extra layer upon what's already a pretty challenging job with some of these blocks and what's legal, what's not legal. But I thought that was a pretty good, it's worth taking your time to kind of read over this section and just kind of get an idea of what the Rules Committee is thinking when it comes to the blindside block standpoint. Any questions or comments about that before we move on? Because y'all just know I talk too long as it is, so y'all ready to get us going. Contact with an official. Intentional contact with an official is obviously a no-no. No player or non-player shall intentionally contact an official. 15-yard penalty, basic spot, ejection. Signal. Very, very simple. Okay? I'm going to show you, there's 2 clips of this next video. This was from a bowl game last year. And I'm going to let you know the ending before we watch it. But the player gets ejected. And we're going to watch both clips, and then we're going to talk about this for a second.
More than a handful. Marcus McShepard comes in there, as does Joe Gaziano.
So we'll watch this video one more time.
And here comes Benny Snell. No place to go. Will lose more than a handful. Marcus McShepard comes in there, as does Joe Gaziano. And here comes a...
So there's a flag.
Yeah, he ejected.
It's like Chris Hoyt wanted to help him up, and Benny Snell didn't want.
I didn't know what he said. He said he rejected him. Push him. Is that what I'm on?
It's like Chris Hoyt wanted to help him up, and Benny Snell didn't want.
So he ejected the player for intentional contacting an official. He didn't eject him for, maybe he said something to him, which you would think, but that would be in sportsman. That's not what he ejected him for intentional contact with an official. This is not that. You could make the case that he almost should have he should have been awarded a dead ball personal foul based on how they drove him back, but that's questionable. Talk about that. But definitely, as a referee, I've done this before. Guy gets driven back on the ground. I might go over there, maybe might kind of put my hand down, might try to kind of help him. He kind of pushes me back a little bit. I get up on my own, no problem. There's nothing there. That's not intentional contact with an official. Now we're about to see another play from, again, another bowl game last year that was intentional contact with an official.
So you're saying on this play, you don't think that was...
No, that does not justify anything, to be honest with you. Basically, if you're the referee, don't reach out and help pick him up. Because that's always a possibility that he could kind of push you away, saying, no, don't help me up, and that's fine.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on Miami head coach. Half the distance to the goal. That's the Miami coaches. First in the game. Automatic first down.
So
While
SEC
we were in commercial during the timeout, Mark Rick hot.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
So far, Mark Richt very animated. One of the highlights of the Orange Bowl so far. Frustrated over a holding call, grabbing referees. Capital One Orange Bowl featuring the Hurricanes.
See, first of all, Mark Rick being the former Georgia coach, I don't know, SEC officials do not call holding against left tackles in the SEC, but that's another story by itself. Since he perfected that technique for like 12 years at Georgia, he should know this. However, that was intentional contact. He made a purpose. He's got a coach holding him back. He's got the referee walking him away, and he reaches out and grabs that line judge or linesman. I don't remember what title it's on. But he made an intent to grab that guy's arm. That's intentional contact. That should be an injection.
He didn't get ejected.
No, he didn't.
Just on a sports ball.
Yeah. But in high school, if he needs to be ejected for that. Okay? So that's the difference between the two. I want to share those two plays because one is a player kind of get away from me, don't help me. That's not intentional. That was an intentional act. He made the effort to go around an assistant coach trying to pull him back, a referee who's trying to walk him away from the situation, and grabs the guy's arm.
Yeah, we don't object to that.
Would you play that again, Garrick?
We're not supposed to.
We're not supposed to do that.
You want both clips?
No, that one. He threw the flag before.
Rick's very animated. One of the highlights of the Orange Bowl so far. Frustrated over a holding call, grabbing referees. Capital One Orange Bowl featuring the Hurricanes and their coach. Irate. We thought we were going to talk about the turnover chain. Instead, the coach is off the chain. And obviously, far more.
Yeah, so he actually got flagged for sportsmanlike conduct, fulfilled conduct. When Larry was talking about sideline management mechanics presentation, he got flagged. He actually didn't get flagged for a touchdown.
Yeah, he got flagged.
Here, question for you.
Yes.
All right, this happens in a high school game.
Uh-huh.
The line judge, linesman, whoever he is, he gets contacted, and he's not making any effort or motion that he's going to, this guy, coach needs to be ejected. If somebody else should step in and do that?
I mean, I'm going to ask him like maybe 4 times. Hey, did he intentionally contact you? Hint, hint. Did he intentionally contact you?
Right, okay.
Rule 9. You can't do that. Hint, hint. You know. I mean, But I mean, am I going to sit there and go? First of all, I may see the contact, but if I'm not the one being contacted,
Right.
You would have to be really egregious. Like like the wing guys lay on the ground unconscious. They can't tell me he got intentionally contacted before I would chime in and otherwise no, we're injecting for that. Because Monday morning, Charlie calls me and goes, "Who ejected you?" I did. But you weren't the one contacted. That's correct.
That doesn't matter, Garrick.
And so I've got to justify why that happened.
Yeah, but if you're as an umpire, I'm there and I see that happen. If I see him make contact, I'm throwing my flag.
He's going.
And now we can get together and come to, but I'm gonna throw that flag because I've seen contact.
Right. But I think it's upon the official that's contacted to say,
This is what happened.
this is what happened.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is why. And then as a crew, we're going to say, all right, we need to eject for this. But that official needs to be the one to be able to explain.
Initiate that.
Yeah,
It's a lot more complicated
right.
if somebody else goes about and does it. Tommy, and then I'll come to you, Bill.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention. When I got hit at Mid Carolina, most of y'all saw
Yep.
the video, this is where I got hit.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like the halftime, after I was hit, the wing official made a comment, he said, "Well, I heard them say they were gonna get the referee."
Huh.
Well, after the fact, the line judge told me that after the fact didn't help.
Right.
We should have handled it before they got the referee, and something should have been done to the guy. If he heard that, then he should have addressed it then, because when I got hit, and they said, "Oh, it was an accident." Well, the comment that was apparently made on the sideline is moot at that point, because it wasn't addressed beforehand. If it had been addressed beforehand, and then I'd been hit, now we would have known for sure that it was an intentional hit. But you can look at it and you can see, I mean, it was, most of y'all.
Yours was intentional.
Yes, but the point is, wing guys, if y'all hear threats to an official, you need to address it. If it's behind you and you don't hear it, you need to go to the head coach and say, "Head coach, look, I just heard somebody behind me on your sideline say something." So that way, it's been said.
And the entire crew needs to be told of that when it happens, and that way we all radars up.
Now, if you see you said it, you need to flag it.
Right.
The line judge should have blues whistle to start the game.
Bill.
But I got a question.
Oh, Bill. Bring it off first.
Such a true thing, though. Come on, Bruce, look at you. That's it.
No, it has to be an intentional act. I mean, you can't. We all know when we are intentionally contacted by somebody. Okay? I mean, if the coach comes up and intentionally kind of rubs his shoulder into you, that's intentional contact. Yeah. So, Ed.
Tom, I got a question. Y'all did the first mechanic, right? It was an interception, right?
Correct.
So you got the goal line.
Well, actually, no, we were more toward midfield. The play went over to the right-hand side of the field.
But if you'd have went the distance, who was going up for the touchdown? Who should have been on the goal line?
He wasn't going, he was running he was running actually away from me and ran back. I mean, he was avoiding a tackle and running sideways. He wasn't running forward.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but who had the responsibility if you'd have broke all that if you'd have broke all that?
That would have been Thomas.
Yeah.
I would have had. But we still had football going on up here. I wasn't gonna turn around and run 40 yards downfield and stand at the goal line while the play was 40 yards away from him. He didn't break toward the goal line yet. He was running laterally across the field.
Dave?
Yeah, though this is more severe, I look at it like, pass interference in that situation where you got a back judge and a wing official who both have the flag. You get together and talk about it and then go with what y'all decide, as Robbie suggested,
Yeah. You have to, there are certain times that we have to look out for ourselves, and this is one of those times. And it's incumbent upon of us to take the time. If you hear something from the sideline, you see something questionable, somebody gets touched, somebody gets contacted, and you think it looks odd, then you need to take time to take a deep breath, because it happens real fast, and sometimes, especially the person that gets hit, they can't quite process the entire thing.
Right.
So it's incumbent as a crew to slow everything down. So that's why it's slow the game down, and this is one of those times where we need to get our bearings and get our emotions under control and talk about what exactly happened. So.
Okay. Going back to look at what happens here, where we have, what we seem to think we have the unsportsmanlike with the flag, and then the coach makes that intentional personal contact. Talk about, do we have 2 fouls, and how do we officiate that, and how are we going to penalize them?
So, well, it depends on what the first. So, if you want to give them, say, a sideline warning, it's a lot of different ways you can handle the first one. So, it could have been that they want to give them a sideline warning, and then, oh, he grabs me, so now we got a 15-yard personal foul. Because this is not unsportsmanlike when he grabs you. It's contact. It's a personal foul. Or it could have been, you could have charged them with a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for their sideline antics. And then, now we have a personal foul, 15-yard intentional contact with an official. So that's 2 15-yard penalties that you would enforce.
Okay.
So yeah, there's lots of ways to talk about that and figure that out.
So that's going to require some discussion from the
Yes.
group.
Yes. And an extra police escort out if it's the home team.
Probably.
Very.
Right. So that's it. So intentional contact. That's pretty straightforward. Remember, that's a personal foul. Contact is a personal foul. Unintentional non-player contact with an official. Now we have some options here. Okay. It's a sitting spot foul. Remember, it's unsportsmanlike, so that's always going to be the sitting spot. It's also, excuse me, it's not. It's contact. So it's still a personal foul, but it's non-player. So non-player fouls are the sitting spot fouls. Okay. So first offense is charged to the head coach. Second offense, charged to the head coach and ejected. I actually had this, and we had it in the state final last year with Dylan. I ran into the side judge, I guess it was. Ran into the adult ball boy, I guess. On the sideline. So we had this. And so the first offense was charged to the head coach. So you can run into an assistant coach, you can run into a ball boy, stats person, trainer, doesn't matter what you run into on the sideline, that's charged to the head coach. The head coach is responsible for keeping all team personnel out of that restricted area when the ball's live.
And the scenario that first, say one of the offenses happened on the field of play.
Okay.
We got a different scenario. It's not charged to the head coach, correct?
Well, I mean, so you're gonna have illegal participation then, because you're gonna have, are they influencing the play? So you could have illegal participation if it influences the play. So if it happens on the field of play, you do have other scenarios you have to discuss. He's still a non-player,
Yes, no.
so it still would be still charged to the head coach, but you could have additional fouls that occur with if it's on the field of play.
Well, I asked that, there was a test question a couple of years ago about this scenario. Is the head coach ejected? The initial one contact, the first one happened in the field of play.
Yeah.
The second one happened on the sideline.
Yes, in the field of play, I think it's charged directly to the person.
The first one's in the field of play, or even if it was the second one, it's not on the head coach.
Right,
That's a different
right,
foul.
Yeah.
right.
This is
It's
what
on that
Garrick's
person.
talking about right here, is getting hitting and restricting you,
All right.
not in the field of play.
Right.
All right, so now we've done covered contact. Now we've got unsportsmanlike. So again, unsportsmanlike, no contact. If you come and tell me, player, non-player, that,
He said you was a blind.
yeah, whatever he said, and he says a personal foul, I'm be like, no, it's not. It's not. It's unsportsmanlike. If you come and tell me, I had two guys kind of cat fighting a little bit, throwing each other down, I'm gonna hit with a sportsmanlike. No, you're not. It's gonna be a personal foul. Okay. This comes up every single year. Every single year. John, what year is this for us?
17.
17. So 16 prior years, I think it's come up every single year in the season. So it is contact is personal foul. No contact is unsportsmanlike. So there's a whole laundry list of things that is covered in Rule 9, and we're not going to go over each one. It's like don't drink, don't use profanity, don't use racial baiting, tobacco, vaping. I'm not sure if marijuana's in there actually, which for states that it's legal, that's an interesting question. But it probably needs to be. Somebody's going to try it. But,
You own to something.
yeah, just throwing that out there. Maybe Mel is out the sideline there, so maybe that's okay to have marijuana on the sideline. I'm not sure which. But there's a whole laundry list of stuff. We're not going to go over each of these, okay? But you do need to read them. You need to be familiar with them. But we are going to talk about some videos here with some plays. So, in high school, remember we're talking high school here. If a player does that, you got to flag that. That's going to lead to stuff.
Right.
If you don't get that.
Right.
Okay, we'll play it again in a second. But you have to flag stuff like that. There's lots of times that we see stuff on Saturdays and Sundays that I go, in high school, I'm calling that. And guess who else sees that stuff on Saturdays and Sundays? These players and these coaches. And it is incumbent upon us to be a little more strict, because these guys, while it's very emotional, and like the pro guys, while it's very emotional, still at this level, it's a business. Okay, Clemson, Alabama football, that's a business.
They're paid athletes.
I mean, at the pro level, yeah, they're emotional, but it's a business for them. They understand that, and there's a maturity there that I hear on Friday night in Dust Fork or Lexington or White Knoll. These kids don't have that, and so we have to get stuff like this.
holding offensive pass interference.
I mean, that's. So you got to get that type of stuff. How many times do we see a guy point or a guy start clapping in somebody's face?
Oh, yeah.
You know, as much as it may be ticky tack, and it may be,
Wasn't it?
and maybe if it's like the only time it's ever happened in the entire game, you may go run to him, run up in there and say, "Hey, don't do that again." But if the game's been real chippy, or you start to see multiple episodes, you got to start flagging that stuff. Last year at North Augusta and South Aiken, South Aiken spits at the end of their pregame warm-up. They spit, every single player spits on the goalpost pad at North Augusta. And I saw this, and it was interesting. So I went to the coach, I said, listen, every single one of your kids to spit on that goalpost pad. You better not have anything out of y'all the rest of the night. And he didn't believe me. He believed me after the second unsportsmanlike flag that I called on his team early in the game.
Number one's their dirtiest player.
Yeah, I mean, and because you can't allow that stuff. And the most amazing thing happened. After you did that, they started playing football, and it was a good game. But you had to take away all that stuff, and it was that first half was a hard game for us to call. It really was. But we finally got the coaches to understand that we're not messing around with this. And the North Augusta coach wanted to whine about something. I said, listen, we're not having a conversation. That whole Larry communication thing, it was a one-way communication for that conversation. It was me telling him, your players are next. And he got the message, and then it was like magic. We only had like 2 penalties the rest of the game. It's great.
Garrick, that example with Clemson and Alabama, would that be a personal foul because it was contact? He was basically on his back.
They got different rules in college.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'm going to call that unsportsmanlike because he's taunting.
Right.
So you may have slight contact, but that's not what we're talking about. What we'll see a lot of times is the guys that are kind of fighting, kind of going to roll on the ground a little bit, and somebody come up and say, hey, I'm charging sportsmanlike for that. No, that's a personal foul. But if he taunts him and there's a little bit of contact, I'm going to ignore that contact.
Right.
And get him for the taunting. Yeah. Non-contact by non-players. So if they're outside the penalty team box, it's a penalty if they're outside the team box. And this includes the restricted area when the ball is live. The restricted area is that 2-yard belt between the sideline and the team box. You know, during a dead ball dead ball period, you can have 3 coaches in there. Once the ball is about to come live, they all got to get back. And that's what we talked about, sideline management, making sure those guys are back. You know, not just behind you, but back. And it's a sitting spot foul. So, non-contact by non-players. So, first offense is the sideline warning. If you work with Doug Drennan, you know within the first 45 seconds of the game, you're going to have a sideline warning. All right? I mean, it's a guarantee. It's a given. And when I have Doug, I start practicing my signal. All right, got to get this thing loosened up, ready to go. First offense, warning. Second offense, 5 yards. Okay? Again, remember these are also sitting spot fouls. So you've got the dead ball, you do your hands behind your back for 5 yards. Nobody knows. The press box doesn't know what that means. Nobody seems to know. But that's the 5-yard penalty. Now, third offense. All right, now we got a 15-yard unsportsmanlike charge of the head coach. Fourth offense. Now you have an injection of the head coach. So, in theory, I mean, it takes 4 times for you to have somebody that's not where they're supposed to be, that 50-yard area that they can be back on the sidelines. You have somebody that just can't, for whatever reason, can't stay in that section. And defensive assistant coaches all think they can coach defense much better on the field than they can 2 yards off the field. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But you've got to keep them back. And then you've got to tell, and so when you have it, so if you come and tell me we've got sideline warning, you have to tell the head coach. So wing guys, a lot of times, the coach, that's your sideline warning. And everybody has to write it down. You've got to write these down as a crew. Sideline warning on your card. Then you get the second offense. The coach, that's your second one. Next one's going to be unsportsmanlike. And then you write down when you had that second one. And then the third one. Coach, all right. So now, I've hit him with unsportsmanlike. Now, as a referee, I'm going to go tell the coach, 3 times that you're unsportsmanlike. The next time, you are ejected. And then write down. And so that way, there's clear communication, and everybody's on the same page about where this happens. All right? Dave?
Yeah, last year, I had John Price and I, we were at Spring Valley, and we had, I think Spring Valley and South Point, wasn't it, John? Anyway, there was a score in the game, and this,
Probably by South Point.
South Point bench, after touchdown, they unloaded the bench, and went down to congratulate the kid that scored the touchdown. It was, I guess it was his first touchdown or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, I flagged the head coach for unsportsmanlike.
Was it their first offense or?
First one.
Okay.
Is that something, would you've done that, or anyone else in here?
Where were they on the field?
I mean,
Were they at the 5-yard line?
were they?
No,
Question there, they're down at the
They're-
5-yard line.
No, I mean, the bench unloaded.
See,
and
that
went to the end
that
zone.
changes it matter when they were that far down.
Yeah, I mean,
It's unsportsmanlike.
yeah.
I didn't know what else,
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
I-
that was the only
I think
appropriate
it's-
thing to do.
It's them rubbing it in Spring Valley's face to a degree.
Yeah. Well, that was
Yeah.
R&E, it was a ass
Oh,
kicking.
yeah. Yeah, so, you know, something like that maybe these 4 steps basically, or, you know, to me that's more of a taunting, rubbing it in their face for the entire team to come running onto the field to celebrate a touchdown. That just leads to,
I've never seen anything like
that leads to trouble. I mean, it just leads to problems,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Could you have called delay of game?
Not in that
To
instance.
me, it was- that would be
No,
very-
Not in that instance.
No,
Okay.
no,
When they
no.
on the field.
Jack.
I do believe that for most of us on the wing, there's one step prior to that where we will go to that head coach and say, you gotta get control of your sideline.
Right.
Now, this is my warning, next time I'm gonna throw a flag and then we'll start the process. So I really do think it's a 5-step
Yep.
process.
Yeah, and as I mean, in the pregame, I should say with the coaches, I said, hey, who's in charge of keeping you guys back? Hey, coach, make sure you keep your guys back. Point of emphasis. I should say that. If I forget, typically one guy will chime in. But so really, I mean, so they get a warning in the pregame. They likely will get another warning at the start of the game, and then they get a warning by a flag. So they should know.
Yes.
They should know. And this is a liability issue. I don't know all the details, but I know in Texas, I think it was. Dennis, you probably know about this. The coach or an official got hit on the sidelines, and there's a lawsuit.
Texas.
Texas. Yeah. So this is a safety. I mean, it's a safety for us. It's a safety for the coaches.
The player and the coach were fired. The player never played again, and the coach was fired.
Yeah.
It's pretty serious.
So it's a safety issue for us. All right. So this is important to keep in mind in terms of head coach unsportsmanlike penalties. So a non-player contact personal foul. So remember that there's this player contact personal fouls charged to the head coach. That unsportsmanlike penalty is not combined with the non-player unsportsmanlike fouls for ejection purposes. 2 separate tracks. So you get 2 non-player contact personal fouls before you ejected, and you get basically 4 of the non-player unsportsmanlike fouls. So the warning, the sideline warning, then the third offense being unsportsmanlike, and then the fourth offense being unsportsmanlike and ejection. So 2 separate tracks. Now, let's say in the first quarter you have the non-player contact personal foul. Based on South Carolina interpretation, that is also your warning. So, the first quarter, just pretend I'm on the wing and I run into somebody for whatever reason. There's a assignment mistake if you put me on the wing, but that's okay. So I run into somebody. Okay, so we got the personal foul, charge the head coach. And the second quarter, I noticed half the team box is, out in the field behind me yelling at me about something. So now I flag them for non-contact, non-player, unsportsmanlike. So they've already had their warning, so now we're going to do the 5-yard penalty there in the second quarter. So then in the third quarter, they get out of the team box again. Now you've got unsportsmanlike charge to the coach for that. Okay, so now he's had 2 unsportsmanlike penalties. However, he's not ejected because one was a non-player contact and one was a non-contact, non-player unsportsmanlike. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, all right. And by this point, your game card is going to be so full of writing all this stuff, you're not going to know any penalties or score the rest of the game because you don't have any room to write anything. But you got to write this stuff down. Okay. This will be on the test 99% of the time because it's on the test every year. Because it's important to know when it comes to, because when we start racking up head coach and sportsmanlike penalties, and we start ejecting, now we could be costing the coach some money and things like that. So it's important to know this track in your head. All right, illegal participation. So in here we're going to cover illegal participation and illegal substitution. Definitions, straight out of Rule 2. Participation is any act or action by a player or non-player that influences play. All right. Player, 1 of 22 team members doesn't start the game or replace another player, replace player, non-player. Substitute. Replaces a player or fills a player vacancy and becomes a player when they enter the field and communicate with the teammate. Enter the field and communicate with the game official. Enter the field and communicate via huddle. Communicate via formation or otherwise participate. So just running on the field doesn't make you a player. You have to do something else to be a player. So illegal participation. You have a live ball basic spot foul. A or K steps out of bounds prior to your change of possession, intentional or unintentional. Unless they're forced out of bounds. If they're forced out of bounds, they have to come right back in. Any player who intentionally steps out of bounds during a down. Any non-player who influences the play. Any player or non-player who enters during the down and participates. Helmet comes off a player and they continue to participate. Live ball basic spot, which basically means it's a live ball foul and the basic spot is depending upon the play. And we'll get into all that in Rule 10. Now here's a couple of plays. A steps out of bounds. So eligible A1 runs a pass pattern down the sideline. He steps out of bounds on his own at B's 45 and returns at B's 43. He catches a legal forward pass at B's 40. Okay, ruling. A1 does not lose eligibility by going out of bounds. Very important to remember that. Okay, if you're eligible at the beginning of a down, you're eligible throughout the down. Therefore, he's not guilty of illegal touching, but he is guilty of illegal participation. Okay? Penalty enforcement. This is a foul during a loose ball play. It's during the pass, a legal forward pass. The spot of the foul is when he returns inbounds at B's 43. Okay? Yes?
On that play for the, he runs out of bounds and comes back in and the season catch. He's guilty of illegal participation.
Yes.
The ball comes back.
Yes. Because it's during the pass.
Do you just replay the down or do they lose the down?
No, you replay the down.
Replay? Okay.
Yeah, it's not a loss of down foul. So the basic spot on a foul by A beyond the neutral zone during a loose ball play is going to be the previous spot. Okay? Now, play number 2.
Can I ask you a question before you go forward?
Yes.
Suppose A goes out, he runs out of bounds, and he passes to him, and he's interfered with.
Offsetting.
Play number 2. Eligible A1 runs a pass pattern down the sideline, steps out of bounds at B's 45, returns at B's 43, attempts to catch a legal forward pass at B's 40, but B3 hinders the opportunity to make the catch.
Go, Lawrence.
Lawrence downloaded the presentation. He's been reading ahead. Ruling. Again, this A1 does not lose eligibility going out of bounds. B3 commits defensive pass interference since A1 is an eligible receiver. B3 contact occurred beyond the neutral zone during a legal forward pass crossing the neutral zone untouched by B and or behind the neutral zone, i.e. B commits defensive pass interference. It's a lot of words to say defensive pass interference. It's a double foul. So you have the illegal participation by A. You have the defensive pass interference by B. 2 live ball fouls. Thus they offset. So that's very important to remember that A retains eligibility even if they go out of bounds. Replay it down. Live ball, previous spot. So these are illegal participation fouls that are still live balls. Common theme, live ball. Illegal participation means live ball. Previous spot. Injured player or not replaced for 1 down. Halftime or overtime intermission is exempt. You have 12 more players participate during the down, and disqualified player re-enters. Now, we should hopefully catch this before they snap it and get them for illegal substitution. However, in this day and age of these teams going so fast, that you know what, it's not my job to give you the 5-yard penalty versus the 15 part. It's not my job to make sure you got 11 guys on the field. So if I can count them fast enough and we can nail it, great. But if we can't, then we're going to get the 15-yard penalty. That's a coaching issue. It's not an officiating issue. Player lying on the ground at or immediately prior to a snap or free kick, or substitution or pretend substitution. So player replace player substitution, and immediately prior to at the snap or the free kick. So deception, live ball, previous spot. Check this one out.
From the Pac-12. We're talking to Tavita Pritchard, who is going to take over as offensive coordinator for Stanford, the quarterback's coach, former Stanford quarterback. Mike Bloomgren, who is coaching in this game, be moving on to Rice. He was talking about how they were living their lives. TCU with the trick play, they had a man lying down in the end zone, and Devontae Turpin threw it back to Jalen Rager. Rager battled it to himself. There is a flag. Rager was hiding in the end zone, lying down on his stomach. There. So TCU has broken out all of the tricks.
Illegal forward pass. Return team number 25. The penalty is 5 yards. It's follow foul.
They're saying that Turpin's pass went forward. I didn't think it did. Well, here's Rager laying down.
Where he's 2 yards. Okay, so we have a foul. Illegal participation. Okay? Foul number 1.
And has a couple touchdown passes.
It throws it at the 8.
Yeah,
definitely. All right. We have foul number 2. And if I'm the referee for this game, I'm now pissed. Because this is going to require some explanations here.
2 live ball fouls.
We have 2 live ball fouls by R. So we have multiple fouls by R. So K has some options here. You have illegal participation in a free kick, so that's going to be a previous spot foul. And you have illegal forward pass by R during return at R8. So if I'm K, I'm going to decline the illegal participation foul, and I'm going to enforce the illegal forward pass foul and back him up half the distance from the 8 to the 4. It's still going to be 1st and 10.
Wait, that's gonna be second down, they lost down.
It's still going to be.
You got to yell that stuff up at Death Valley?
No,
It's still going to be 1st and 10 for A. However, what if this is the last play before the half? Half is over with. You have a accepted foul, loss of down foul. You do not extend.
Loss of down provision.
Yes. Or it's the end of the game. Or it's the end of the quarter. You're like, oh man, we got to go all the way down. Yes, that means you have to go all the way down for the change. So even though it's still 1st and 10 for A, after you enforce the illegal forward pass, guess what? That loss of down aspect could still come into play depending on what the time is in the game.
Great point.
Okay. And again, as a referee, I'm going, get me off of this game. Get me out of here. This is bad. Illegal substitution. So that was participation. Live ball. Remember, live ball fouls. Illegal substitution. Now I know this is Rule 3.
Here. So if they, in that same scenario, they could draw the point. If they'd have chose to accept the illegal participation with time run out, they could have a re-kick.
You would re-kick it because you have accepted foul during the last time down. You would be kicked because there's no loss of down aspect with that. Yes.
Be 15 yards for being a moron.
Right.
For
Yeah.
taking
Yes.
But there is that option.
Yes.
where it comes to, I might take that.
So if you took that penalty,
That's 69, right?
so if you took that penalty, so now R's kicking off from, I'm sorry, K's kicking from R's 45, because it's 15 yards from K's 40, okay? Mechanic question for you. Are you going to then shift into anticipated short kick mechanics?
Yes. Well,
K's kicking from R's 45. There's two options. They're either just going to kick it deep into the end zone, or they're going to try something weird.
we still talking last play of the game, right?
No, just in general.
You talk-
Just in
okay,
general.
okay.
Just in general.
All right.
So my crew, we are going to shift into short kick anticipation, free kick officiating,
Yes.
and move the back judge up.
Here,
Yes.
on that play where there was deception in the end zone and the
Yeah.
player was lying down.
Yes.
Because if he were standing up at the beginning of the down, does it make any difference?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
All right, so he, at the beginning of the,
So when the ball's kicked, if he's standing up, okay, he's fine.
at the kick,
Yes.
not when he received.
When we receive it,
If he
he's
lays
down.
down after that ball's hit, he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever had that in a game?
Well, never, but it's a point.
Yeah.
We've had it on, we have
It's on
had
the
that,
test.
we have had that on the sideline before, and I will tell you this, a lot of times the coach will come out there and tell you before the game, that this is what I intend to do, and all you do is tell him, I don't think I would run that play on a kick, or,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna pull a guy, just tell them they can't do that. I mean, that solves it right there. I mean, because we've had them tell us that before, but we've had that one time on the sideline, the kid came in and laid, actually, I think it was a kicking situation with the tee hollering, where's the football tee, and it was flagged, but that was a long time ago.
I'm glad I was never on the field with Lawrence Garrison and Hollis Peterson at the same time. Just love the blue flag.
Moving right along.
All right. So, illegal substitution. So, remember, illegal participation, live ball fouls.
Listen up, listen up.
And I know illegal substitution is covered in Rule 3, but I think you've got to compare and contrast the two.
Right.
Illegal participation is a live ball foul. Illegal substitution can be a dead ball foul or a live ball foul. Okay? So, illegal substitution. Replaced player fails to leave within 3 seconds. There's no breaking the huddle with 12 in college. I mean, high school. Okay?
According to the coaches is.
They don't know anything. He's got 3 seconds. player, replace player, substitute fails to leave the field on the sideline where the team box is located. So he can't go over the end line. He can't go over the other team's sideline. He's got to go on the sideline that his team box is located. And he can go out the end zone on the side, and as long as he keeps going to his team box, that's fine. Player, replace player, substitute leaves the field on the proper sideline and does not go directly to his team box. So he can't leave the field of play across the sideline and stand there. He's got to go to his team box. And then a substitute player becomes a player and then withdraws during the same dead ball penalty unless you've got a penalty or you've got end of the quarter or something like that, or timeout or something like that. Okay? Live ball fouls. So, previous spot, live ball foul, illegal substitution. So Dinger down. He tries to leave, but he can't get off. Okay? But he doesn't participate. He's running. You know, he's the defensive tackle. He's trying. He's not going to make it. As a previous spot, illegal substitution foul. That is not an illegal participation for 12 because he doesn't participate. Okay? Failure of substitute to be on their side of the neutral zone when the ball is kicked or snapped. Now you'll see this on an extra point, or maybe they have to change possession and somebody doesn't know he's on the kicking team. And he's running and he doesn't make that. He doesn't participate. He doesn't do anything. He's on the field, but he doesn't make it there. Then that's the previous spot. And then it's a sitting spot foul would be one where he enters during the down but does not participate. So that's a non-player foul. So this happened to me, I think at Crestwood several years ago. There's a punt, and for whatever reason, the offense for Crestwood decides we're just going to walk on the field during the down. Kylie's not tackled yet, and they're just all kind of moseying on the field. And then it's next thing you know, there's 19 Crestwood team members on the field. And you're like, what is this? You know, none of them, they didn't do anything, so we had to flag it. That's a 5-yarder, just sitting spot. Yes.
We're gonna allow a player to stand in the end zone while the ball is being kicked in our league?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, that's not very bright, but he can stand there. Yeah.
So it is legal for him to stand in the end zone?
Yeah. He's one of the 11 players, right? Yeah.
It's a part of the end zone's part of the field.
Yeah, he can stand there.
If
the ball gets to him, it's going to be dead, but he can stand there.
He's not out of bounds.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So let's take a little break here. Take about a 5-minute break here, and then we'll finish up with the last couple of slides.
I know
In fact, he can actually step out of bounds.
Yes, sir. Look good. Yes. That means a lot. That means a lot. Thank you. I'm telling you, brother. Yes, sir. That means a lot, man. Don't want to wait. Mouth full.
All right, let's get going again. Come on, everybody. All right, does everybody take their seats and we'll keep going here? Before we wrap up, legal substitution, we got a couple of video clips to play that are talking about it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, so this is talking about illegal substitutions and the player trying to get off the field.
The defense has 12 on the field when the ball is snapped. The 12th player was trying to run off, but he is clearly on the field by almost 3 yards when the ball is snapped. In high school, we can fudge this a little, but in the day and age of film, when it's obvious, we need to get it. We can see the head linesman is actually signaling that he got off the field before the snap, but we used to take a couple steps onto the field to kind of make this work for us, and the linesman doesn't do that. So it shows that he clearly knows that he was on the field prior to the snap. We could try to kill this one as an illegal substitution and prevent the play from going, but I guess a live ball foul in this particular case would not be bad because the player was trying to get off. Either way, probably should have been called. What do you think, Bill?
Well, I'm going to go back to the days when I started officiating. We'd have been eaten alive as wing officials if we would have called this. We wanted to give the benefit of the doubt to this player running off. Everybody knows he's going off. He continued to go off. Leave it alone when he's that close to the sideline. Your point about today on the film, it shows how do you defend it. That makes it tough. It's illegal substitution by the defense. we minimally got to get a 5-yard penalty on this one. But I'm still a little old school on this. I'd still like to give him the benefit of the doubt, manage the game, get him off, talk to the coach and say, Coach, get that guy off quicker.
You know, I guess it's okay still to fudge this one a little bit, but this one was pretty obvious. I mean, you could still see that he's clearly in the green on this one. I mean, I don't think we're trying to advocate, you know, throwing flags, as many flags as we can, but if we can fudge it, fudge it. But in this one, there was probably no
He's
fudge.
out in the field, no question.
So, one thing that you can kind of, I think a lot of wing guys would do, if they're within a step, maybe within a half a yard, then let it go. But in this guy's case, he still took 2 more steps, and then he did the old, like that's going to help him out, you know, get him out there fast. If I jump in the air, that gets me off the field, doesn't work. So, but that's just something that you have to be aware of, that the guy running off, that if he doesn't get there, it's a 5-yard penalty, live ball in this case, previous spot. Alrighty. Alrighty. Helping the runner, just going to mention this real quickly here. Basically what I want to mention here is that you have to aid the forward momentum. So a lot of times you'll see the quarterback kind of hand it off, and he might put his hand on the guy's back. That's okay. But if he pushes him, that's not good. At the lower level, JV, you know, if they're running the quarterback sneak, sometimes you'll see the running back come up and just shove the quarterback, you know, in the butt or the back, trying to push him forward. If I see it, I'll say, hey, don't do that again. He looks at me like, what? What do you mean? I said, touch your lineman, but you can't touch the runner. But the main thing is that you've got to aid forward momentum. So just touching doesn't do that. You've got to give him some sort of additional force from that standpoint. Illegal kicking and batting. Illegal kicks. So remember, definition, kicking is intentionally striking the ball with the knee, lower leg, or foot. So it's an intentional act. Only legal kicks are free kicks or scrimmage kicks. Accidentally kicking a loose ball is not a foul. So if I'm trying to cover a muff and I kind of kick it and it goes, you know, forward or backwards or wherever it goes, that's not a legal kick. It wasn't an intentional act. But if I'm the punter, the ball gets snapped over my head, the ball is laying on the ground, and I just go up there and kick it out of the back of the end zone, that's an illegal kick. It's an intentional act. Okay? We'll talk more about penalty enforcement on that in Rule 10. Illegal bat. So, it's illegal to bat a loose ball unless it meets one of the following. A pass. You bat a pass all you want. Except that A cannot bat a backward pass forward. Okay, but if it's a forward pass, you can bat it any way you want to. Fumble in flight. If you're attempting to block a scrimmage kick in or behind the expanded neutral zone. If it's a grounded scrimmage kick, okay, you can go up and bat it towards their own goal line. Okay, they can't bat it forward, but that's first touching. Probably it's easier to go with that than call it a legal bat. And if there's no R player in position to catch the kick in flight, then K can again bat it back, try to keep it out of the end zone.
And or combat a kick at the goalpost in the end zone by case play.
By case play, yes, but
by rule.
But not by rule.
Not by rule, no.
That's right.
But by case play,
yes,
he can.
But I don't read the case book, so I don't go by the rule on that one. Again, we mentioned this: elbow receiver may not bat a backward pass forward, and a ball in play in possession shall not be batted forward by a teammate. So you can't, if I'm running, you can't come behind me, on my team, and pop it forward. Which, I mean, if a team was able to successfully do that, that'd be a pretty impressive feat. We don't see illegal kicks. We don't see illegal batting a lot. But normally when an illegal bat does occur is very odd. And it kind of makes you, what was that? And typically, so again, you might have to take a second or two to see that. Typically, we see illegal kicks most of the time when the ball goes over the kicker, punter's head. He's running back there. He doesn't want to get a safety or get hit, so he just kicks it. Okay? Now, if he picks it up and he punts it legally backwards, it's legal. It's not a legal kick. It'll be something that's going to probably be a safety, but it's not going to be a legal kick. Okay? All right, unfair acts. Hinder play by an unfair act which has no specific rule coverage, player and non-player. So, repeatedly committing fouls half the distance from the goal line, hiding the ball in the jersey, illegal kicking tee. The referee gets to be the judge and jury on this one. To make any act and opinion the referee makes travesty of the game. The referee gets to enforce any appropriate penalty, including the awarding of a score or declaring forfeiture. Hiding the ball, illegal tee, or 15-yard basic spot penalties, but they're not charged to a player or a coach for unsportsmanlike disqualification criteria. I'll know it when I see it. Y'all know this quote from Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart regarding pornography. But basically, you can't describe it. We can't list the scenarios. It's just one of those things that when you see it, you gotta, that doesn't look right. Let's talk about this. And then you have what happened in this game.
67 yards, now 54 yards for College. So, in the end zone, 2 flags are on the field as the receiver was getting fight. And now we've got Temple starting to do it. Thomas Jackson was the intended receiver. It looked like he was just pulled to the turf. I count 3 penalty flags out on the turf right now, maybe 4, Dave.
Yeah, it looked like he was tackled to the ground, which upsetting. It's a Carolina team that has a great, like a lot of teams, but great pride in trying to win at home, not giving away games away at home. This was a tough matchup. Cal was a hard team to prepare for. We talked to the coaches for North Carolina. They had to watch film for Texas A&M.
Holding number 1 defense. Half the distance to the goal line. That's an automatic first down.
All snap.
Film of Texas A&M and Wisconsin from the defensive side and Justin Wilcox, and they had to watch offensive stuff. He tackled him all the way. There was no doubt. Then on the offensive film of Eastern Washington, they had to go all over the map as far as what film to watch.
North Carolina last year was 7-0 with the halftime lead. They went 17-14 in this one. More flags are coming out. I don't know the direction this is going.
They're tackling the receivers. They know that if they give up a pass interference call, it's not going to hurt. So it's that point where they'll take the and this is where, this is a big win, obviously, for Cal to come on the road. See him tackle in the bottom of your screen. And see, he's holding it all the way. He's holding it all the way. It's just a penalty, but that's not in the spirit of the game, tackling that.
All right.
So what did they do?
So,
Yeah.
in this case, nothing. They just enforce the penalties and let it go. You're in the 4th quarter. 17 seconds to go. It's an 11-point game. I don't really know why you would do this, but let's say it was a 6-point game or a 5-point game. The defense is intentionally grabbing and holding when the ball is snapped. There's no defense being played there. That's intentional, unfair act. So what came out the next week, and what I think should have happened was you enforce the penalty, so it'd be half the distance. Replay the down, but then we're going back to 17 seconds. So I'm going to enforce the penalty, and it's still going to be 1st and 10. But now I'm going back to 17 seconds. I'm putting the time back on the clock. And then when they do it again, I'm going to enforce the penalty. Will be now it's going to be 1st and goal.
Back to 17.
And I'm going back to 17 seconds.
Let me ask you this: how can you put time back on that clock?
There's an unfair act.
Right.
And the official and the referee can, and you got to know the time.
The referee can do.
That's for penalty enforcement in high school. Penalty and clock timing are two different things.
Unfair act. The defense is manipulating the penalties.
I agree.
No team shall repeatedly commit fouls which have the distance to the goal line.
Well, that's not.
That's the warning of the score.
Yeah. But they are manipulating the rule book to get the time off the clock.
It says enforcing any penalty. Any penalty.
What say you, John?
Doesn't say anything about clock or timing.
But it's a travesty of the game.
I agree with Tim.
I think what you're reading penalty from a standpoint of what goes with a foul. You could also read the penalty.
You have to go
penalty in this case is that I'm going to penalize you, coach, by putting time back on the clock. That's the penalty that I am as a referee going to put on you. Right. It's not the thing that goes with the foul, but here's the penalty I'm going to do to you for this.
The key is that unfair acts cover stuff that's not specifically covered by this. And B is gaining an advantage by fouling.
Exactly.
Yep.
Eventually the clock's going to run out.
And you take the advantage away by leaving the clock time on the clock. You create a fair advantage. That's the fair way to do it. And there's nothing in the rules that says you can do it.
Tim, can I hear your logic on that?
Sure.
You seem to disagree.
I totally disagree with that because that has nothing to do with timing. It has nothing to do with the time. You can keep moving that ball forward,
but you're only going to go half the distance.
But you got to let that clock go.
But then they'll never score.
We have fouls all the time like that. I mean, we don't have, we never have the unfair act. I've never seen that. I've never been in a ball game that's been involved in, but I would certainly not.
Tim.
I would certainly not put time back on the clock.
If they jump off side 4 or 5 times in a row, then you can award a touchdown. It's right in the book.
Right.
I can see you may not have it on the first one, but the second one, or any subsequent one, I would definitely think you want to put the time back. Maybe not on the first one.
Where does it say under timing you can do that?
Not under timing, but the referee has authority.
We talk about all the time. We follow the rule book. We officiate by the rule book. Where under timing does it say you can do that on a foul? It doesn't.
What it says is that the referee has the authority to penalize unfair acts. Right.
You're penalizing the unfair act.
And it does not exclude time. It does not exclude time.
It says he can anything he considers an act.
Even to a one score, but it does not when the referee can
exclude timing.
It does not exclude it.
So John, you say put the time back on?
I mean, that's one thing you can do.
They get away with
This is the rules, son. Wait, one at a time, please.
John, go ahead.
So, let's say it's the last play of the game, and A's down 5. And they throw a pass, and this guy is open, he catches it, and he ain't gonna get called. He's going for the touchdown. B comes off the sideline and tackles him.
Touchdown.
Well, but rules coverage says that's illegal participation.
Right.
By the rule, that's illegal participation, and all we're gonna do is enforce 15 yards, and then we're gonna have a fun time down.
Right.
That's what Roy Regals told me.
I'm just saying.
But you're gonna award the touchdown. You're gonna award the touchdown.
It's something covered by the rules, but it looks like an unfair act.
Well, suppose that's the last play of the game and they tackle the receivers on the last play, and if they score, they win. All right, let's just use that. Can you award a touchdown then?
It's hard to,
I
to me.
No.
If it's the first time it happened, no.
No.
To me, it's hard to assume he could have caught the pass.
I agree.
So my position would be an untimed down.
Untimed as opposed to timed.
Well, if it's the last play of the game,
Well, see, that's
like
the thing.
if time runs out during the down,
Right,
then they accept the penalty. You're just gonna replay the down.
right.
With the penalty enforcement,
Yes.
after the penalty
Yes.
enforcement.
Yeah.
He's gonna extend it.
Well, now why wouldn't you then add the time back on the clock in that case?
Because the time ran out during the
Right.
down. And so,
So you changed the scenario. You said it's, now you're saying it's the last
but
time.
here you
Yeah.
got 17 seconds.
Right.
And,
I'm just saying.
and a timeout.
Right.
So
Some
if they
teams
do
in
this,
17 seconds
Yeah.
could run 4 plays.
if they do this
Some of these
enough
things
time,
we've seen.
so let's say they're at the 12. So you're gonna go down. All right, guys, the 6. Do it again. The 3. 17 seconds. 1 timeout left. They don't have to throw a pass.
Well, true.
They can run it now.
Yep.
They have their entire playbook with them.
Right.
So, to me, way I would, and I agree with Sam, maybe not the first time,
Maybe not the
because
first
that's
Yeah.
just, guys don't do that. But when they ran the second play, I think it was like 12 seconds or 11 seconds. So you put that 11 seconds on there with a timeout, they can run 3 or 4 plays
Exactly.
there.
Okay.
Get an
I agree
onside
with
kick
that.
and then still
Yeah.
have time to run
Yeah.
finish.
And this question right here, so that same play that you just ran right there,
Yeah, I know.
with the quarterback doing all this pump faking and all this, and the player running down the sideline.
Right.
Say when you look up there at the referees, you look up there after you got all this sorted out. Say it's 2 seconds left on the clock. Out of all that just went on. So you're gonna add the 15 seconds back to make it 17 seconds, then go half the distance and replay the down?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd say so.
Because if you watch the play, the quarterback's having a pump fake because all of his guys are laying on the ground.
Thank you.
As the defense tackle.
Right,
And
exactly.
then he ends up throwing it out of bounds because
Yeah.
he's gotta do something with the ball.
Yeah.
So he found to decide to throw it.
Yeah.